Well, ladies and gentlemen, again, good morning, and I'm happy to be in this great city of Kampala. And to attend this important discussion this morning, hosted by the Africa Strategic Leadership Center. As has been said very ably by the Minister, Uganda and Kenya enjoy very special relationship, historic, trade, political, and in many other spheres. We have many Kenyans who have gone to school in this country. In the past, we have many Kenyans today who go to school in Uganda. We are both members of EAC. We are the pioneers on the Northern Corridor Coalition of the Willing. We are members of EPAS. We negotiated on the same side. We are members of COMESA. And as has been said, both Kenya and Uganda signed the tripartite free trade area at the same time. And we are two of the three countries that have already ratified the tripartite free trade area. We are among the first 22 countries that signed into the Africa continental free trade area. And so there is tremendous progress in the relations between Uganda and Kenya, whether you're talking about matters people to people, business to business, government to government. We are all weaved up into one. And because of that relationship, we have seen that relationship expand in many areas. And we have seen the strategic leadership of both Kenya and Uganda in driving the integration of not just East Africa, but our continent. When we moved into the EAC in 1999 to replace what was there before, it was a huge leap of faith, because having experienced what happened with the initial East African community and the decision that was made not to go through preferential free trade area or even free trade area itself, but we went straight into a customs union, which was a huge step. And because of that huge step, so much has happened in the last 10 years. For example, in the last 10 years, business between Uganda and Kenya has doubled from about 48 billion Kenya shillings in 2008. Today, we are at 104 billion Kenya shillings, or just under $1 billion, trade between these two countries. So in the last 10 years, because of the strategic decision we made as members of the East African community, we have seen trade grow phenomenally. I'm told the numbers, especially for this year. And before I go to this year, what has happened in that period is, of course, Kenya became a leading investor in Uganda, among the leading investors in Uganda. Uganda became our leading export destination. And Kenya also became a leading destination for exports from Uganda. showing that by and large we enjoy very positive progress on either side. And I'm told that the last 4 months of this year, actually Uganda has overtaken Kenya in exports. Now there are more exports from Uganda to Kenya than there are from Kenya to Uganda. Again, demonstrating that indeed the decision to do business together is mutually beneficial. And that is the reason why we must continue on this trajectory, because indeed this is the direction that is going to benefit business and people and government in Uganda as it does for business, people, and government in Kenya. And because of that reason, the horizon, and it's good when we are speaking to business people because they understand numbers. What has happened is that because of these people to people, business to business, government to government working together, especially between Kenya and Uganda, we have fired the EAC. Today, the EAC, intra-trade between the EAC countries is at around 18%. The average for intra-Africa trade is between 10 and 12%, making EAC the single regional economic bloc in the southern hemisphere that is most progressive. That is something we must be very proud of ourselves, ladies and gentlemen. We must really be very proud that the EAC, with all our challenges, with all the border manenos, with all the other issues, we have still made very huge progress. And when I say that, I'm not saying that so that we can relax, because the competition is inter-European trade, which is at 60%, or intra-Asian trade, which is at 40%. So we have quite some ground to cover. But the good news is that we are making progress. But the challenge is we must up our game progressively, consistently, and this engagement in a forum like this between policymakers like myself and business people like yourselves is a conversation that must be continuous, that must be promoted, and that must be robust, so that we can make that progress even faster. I say so because any serious entrepreneur, any serious business person knows that business in the 21st century is built not on margins, but on volumes. Any serious business person must understand that. And if you do not understand that as a business person, then you need to look for something else to do. Right? And where are the volumes? The volumes is in the numbers. When we talk about EAC, we are looking at 6 countries, 170 million people, a GDP of about $165 billion. Right? When we look at the tripartite TFTA, we're looking at 27 countries, about 625 million people, and a GDP of about $1.3 trillion. When we expand to the bigger Africa continental free trade area. We're looking at 1.2 billion people. We're looking at a GDP of $2.5 trillion, and we are looking at 49 countries already signed in out of 55. So every business person, an entrepreneur, must be pushing where the numbers are. We need to be pushing to EAC, to TFTA, and eventually to the Africa Continental Free Trade Area. That is where we must go. And there is an even much more potent reason why we must push in that direction. Those of you who follow international current affairs, there is a wave of protectionism that we can all see, and that what used to be common is no longer common. You can see there is a movement. I do not want to name places. We all know what's going on. And the more reason why we, as the people of this continent, must look at the blocks that will give us the muscle to negotiate and to have our share of trade. And therefore, as we sit here this morning, and as a Kenyan and an East African policymaker, we know that business, commerce, must drive our relations and our politics going forward. And a very profound statement was made by my brother Daktari when he said, nationalism without Pan Africanism is meaningless. And I dare say it is actually useless. Because we are living in a world where we have very serious challenges about youth unemployment. We are facing issues that come with youth unemployment, of recruitment into terrorist groups. We have poverty to deal with. And all this must be taken head on by ensuring that we create opportunity for our population, for jobs, for incomes, to reduce poverty, and it can only be driven by opportunities created by business and commerce. And we cannot get it right any other way. That is why in Kenya, we are investing heavily in infrastructure. We are investing heavily in energy. We are investing heavily in relevant education, not just education, relevant education. Education that is going to equip our young men and women with skills and competencies to help them contribute in driving our industry, our value addition, our agro-processing, our manufacturing, because that is where value is added, that is where wealth is created, and that is where opportunity is expanded for young people. And as we invest in infrastructure, we are also focused on ensuring that that infrastructure is transboundary. It is not just infrastructure for Kenya. It is not just infrastructure for Uganda. And that is why later today, with President Museveni, we will be launching a road that will connect Kenya and Uganda in our northern part. Again, because we realize that a road is good for Uganda. It is better if it joins Uganda to Kenya. And that is the direction we should all be focused on. So what am I saying this morning? I am saying this morning that we have made progress. We have tried as much as possible as Kenya to make sure that the port is facilitative. We've tried to eliminate the barriers that have consistently been on the way to business people in Uganda as they are to business people in Kenya. And we continue to listen. And that is why we have the Northern Corridor program that brings our leaders, policymakers together every 3 months. It was 2 months. I think we have now shifted to the last time we were in Nairobi, I think we said 4 months, every 4 months, because we have finalized most of the teething problems. And that is to address issues of concern by our investors, by our business people, so that we can create that room for business to thrive, jobs to be created, wealth to be created, so that we can manage poverty and we can manage youth unemployment. But you know, we must always look on the other side. What is the flip side? The flip side is that for the challenges that we have, the silver lining is that we can turn them around to opportunities. The youth of our continent will be a problem, but they can become the huge part of our solution depending on where we stand and what we do. And if we do the right things, we will harness the talent, the energy, the expertise, the knowledge of the young people of this continent. If we do the right things. Of course, if we don't, they will then become a big problem to us, governments, communities, and countries. So I do not wish to say many things. I will want to listen to you because this is supposed to be a conversation, or that's what I was told. So I want to listen to you. I want you to tell me where you think we can do better. Try and find a place to congratulate us for what we have done. I know it's difficult normally for business to find a place to say thank you for doing this. They always ask for more. You know, and with business people, the goalpost is ever moving. But I hope you will find a place to allow us to score. But having said that, I am open to any questions or whatever it is that, yes, thank you. Thank you very much.
Your Excellency, please take a seat. At the front, the questions are coming. I've already seen